an exciting week because 11 is coming, finally. I wanted to talk a little bit about the process and some of the mistakes we made for bringing 11 to Japan. I mean, I have documented and vlogged in my previous videos, but maybe kind of hard to get those pieces from different vlogs. So I'm just going to talk about it in this video. Originally, when we decided to move to Japan, we looked into it and it is quite a process. If things are aligned, it could take about 6 months, but if you don't have everything ready, it could take longer. I'm going to talk about our timeline, mistakes that were made, and approximate cost. Keep in mind that this is from Canada, Alberta. So Canada is quite big, so there's different costs depending on where in Canada you are. And this is also from non-designated region. As of 2021, and at least regarding us, non-designated regions are regions other than Iceland, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji Islands, Hawaii, and Guam. So if you are from those regions, then you are very lucky. If you are not from those regions and you are not from military, just regular folks, it's quite a process. So I'm only going to be speaking to non-designated regions and regular folks. I believe it's also different at the end whether you can fly in cabin with your pets. Depending on their size, 11 is quite a big dog. Well, for Japan, she's considered to be a big dog. About 33 pounds last I saw her. She's definitely gained some weight since then. We decided to fly both Kuro and 11 cargo, so that's something to take into consideration. And the reason we decided to fly them cargo is because the weather can be extreme, so there might be some weather embargoes or restrictions, whether it's too cold or it's too hot. Going from this guideline, and you can get this off the website too for importing dogs and cats into Japan. It's the government website, and they have it in English, and I'm sure they have it in other languages. So this is the chart. So step 1, this is very important. Your pet needs to be microchipped, and they have to have an ISO microchip. I would think ISO microchips are standard because when we got our pets microchipped, we weren't planning to move to Japan, but they were microchipped. So when we decided to move to Japan, they had already been microchipped. Once they are microchipped, then you can start the rabies vaccine process. In our case, both pets had been microchipped, and 11 had 2 rabies vaccines after her microchips. And Kuro had been microchipped, and he had had a rabies vaccine, but we got complacent. We didn't keep up with his rabies vaccine, and we're like, oh crap. Since Kuro needed the 2 rabies vaccines, there is a requirement. So when you get the first rabies vaccine, you got to make sure that the second rabies vaccine is given 30 days or more after the first rabies vaccine. Another point to keep in mind, this one is one that we missed with 11. The second rabies vaccine must be given before the first vaccine expires. I forgot to mention, so when you get your rabies vaccine, you need to get a rabies vaccine certificate. Make sure you have that from your vet. It needs to be signed in blue ink. They're very specific about date formats as well. It has to show the batch number, the date it was given, like it actually has that to have a date. I know we were having issues at our vet because it didn't actually have a date that the vaccine was given. And I also had issues where when I tried to get a older vaccine certificate, it was for Kuro. They had forgotten to give me one of his rabies vaccine, and when I requested it, they were no longer able to print it. I'm not sure why. The one that they did give me did not have all the information that was needed. So my pet relocation agent gave me a template. It had all the information that needed to be filled out. Everything was done in blue ink, and then the vet would sign off on it with their, like, a license number. So there's an option, if you can't get your vaccine certificates, make them fill out the template with all the information of the vaccine, and that it's all filled out in blue ink. Remember batch numbers, date, what type of vaccine is given. Make sure the date formats are right too, because I know with 11, I was told that the vet would need to fix it because they mixed up the dates with the months. After the second rabies vaccine, you can actually do the rabies antibody test. I also call it the FAVN test. The day that you get the second rabies vaccine, you can do that test. And that test is pricey because it's a special one. It gets sent to like a lab. For us, it was about $700 Canadian per test. And then you have to wait for the results. So you're going to get a hard copy, and it's got like a sticker on it. It's got the signatures on it. And you have to keep the original. Like, don't lose the original. Once it comes, you need that to get your pets into Japan. Our vet actually told us to wait 2 weeks after the second rabies vaccine just to get those levels where you need them. Sometimes if people do it the day of the second rabies vaccine, the ratings might be low. So you need an equal to or greater than 0.5 IU/ml or IU milliliters. If you wait for the 2 weeks, you're going to get better results. We did that. We made sure the dates were not a problem for Kuro. 11, we made sure she had 2 rabies vaccines after her microchip, that we were making sure that the rabies vaccines were given after her microchip. The vet confirmed that, so she was good. We gave her the FAVN test. We gave Kuro the FAVN test 2 weeks after. We took them both the same day to get the FAVN test because we wanted them to do the quarantine together. And I say quarantine, but it just means they have to stay in Canada or where they live, right? It doesn't mean like they're actually, I don't even know where this word is coming from. It's actually called a waiting period, but we keep calling it quarantine for some reason. So they have to wait 180 days before they can enter Japan. So if they try to enter Japan before the 180 days, then they get quarantined at the airport or government facility at your own cost. So that's per day. So you wait 180 days. At that point, we decided we were going to come ahead to Japan and just try to find a place for us to live. Before the 180 days were over, I had to return to Canada. I went through the pet relocation route and I found a company. At that time, to fly both Kuro and 11 to Japan, I believe I was quoted about $4,500 or $4,700, something like that, Canadian, for both of them. And that's when I came across 11's paperwork. I was trying to make sure everything was in order. And her second rabies vaccine, we all missed this. I don't know how we missed this. Even the vet missed this. I missed this. Masa missed this. Her second rabies vaccine had been given to her 10 days after the first vaccine had expired. We were so preoccupied with just making sure that she'd had 2 rabies vaccine after her microchip was given to her that we missed that. That meant that 11's first rabies vaccine was nulled. It was no longer valid, and in this process, it was as if she only had 1 rabies vaccine. I contacted the pet relocation company and I asked for an updated quote just to fly Kuro in. For 11, I got her as fast as I could into the vet. We gave her a second rabies vaccine and waited 2 weeks. And then we gave her another rabies antibody test. That was all well and dandy, but she had to wait 180 days in Canada again. So we postponed her flight another 6 months and we proceeded with Kuro. For Kuro, we had to make sure that you have to measure them. We made sure that he had the right crate. There is some requirements with the crate. So make sure you look into the crate requirements before you buy one, especially for cargo. They have to be able to stand in there. I think it's a little less strict with the cat ones as opposed to the dog ones. And you do measure the dogs slightly different. Measure from nose to butt, the width of their widest part. I think head to feet. And then with dogs, there's an extra one where I think you measure their elbows or something with their arms, and then you have to do a little bit of math there. And then you have to kind of figure out when you intend to bring them. So if you want to make sure they're in Japan as of the 181 days, and take into account the Japan is 1 day ahead different. Just keep that in mind. I was trying to get Kuro in as urgent as possible to Japan. I really wanted to have it around the time I was flying back to Japan. You have to submit an advance notice of 40 days. The pet relocation company gave me a bit of a timeline, and I think they can only book the plane tickets or the cargo flight for them 2 weeks before. It's pretty much an estimated flight. If anything changes with the flight, you have to submit a modification request with the quarantine service at the airport. When you send your advance notice or advance notification, they have a form for that you fill out. So it's not just like an email. You actually have to fill out a form with the date, flight number, which if it does change, you can do the modification after. You also should forward them everything you have when you send that notification, because it's not just notifying them, you're applying for permission, right? So they have to approve your notification that they're coming. At that point, you need to send them the application, the advanced notification application form, the rabies vaccine certificates. I think I sent them the microchip certificate just because, but I don't think that was required. And the FAVN test. So scan the original and then just forward that to them. After you submit the 40 days advance notice and it gets approved, you need an approval form that comes, they will email you. Within the 10 days before they fly, you have to have the final vet visit. For us, they had to do a fit to travel certificate. I think that was just for the pet relocation, maybe for the airline. And then they had to sign off on that section of the government endorsement. You need a government endorsed health certificate. Japan has their own template on their website, but our pet relocation agent sent it to us ahead of time. And I think she even pre-filled it for us. So there's like one little section that our vet has to fill out in like blue ink. There's a little section at the bottom that you have to take to a government agency. So in Canada, it's the CFIA, which is like the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. You get that done, and there's documents you have to take. Make sure that if you print these documents, make sure they fit the page, because Japan has different sizing, and I know when we try to print them in Canada, sometimes things get cut off. When you go to the government agency for the final step, they, at least in my case, or at least in Canada, they will also seal the endorsement on the original FAVN test. Once you have your government endorsed certificate, make sure you forward a copy of that to animal quarantine service. Once that is in order, that's where it will change as well, whether you're going to be flying with them in cabin, if they can fly as extra luggage, or if you are doing cargo. Our situation as well, they were flying domestically, so they were flying from Calgary to Vancouver, and then they will spend the night in Vancouver at the pet relocation agency's kennel. The pet agency will check them in for international flight. So for me, that's just easier. I don't have to worry about the rules for international flight. When we prepare the crate for Kuro and 11, we have to make sure the original documents, those have to fly. They have to be with the pet. After they're checked in, they fly to Japan, and then in our case, we go pick them up at Narita. We go to Narita cargo area. From our experience with Kuro, this time we learned that we can actually park there, so we're gonna drive in. You have to show them our ID, and then they give us like a visitor pass. And then you go to your airline's designated warehouse. And this is all gonna get done within the same cargo area, at least for us at Narita. So once you go in, you don't need to exit the cargo area. It's all within the same, there's like buildings in there. We go to the airlines and let them know that we're there, that our pet's coming. It's probably best to just be there a little bit ahead, just so that they're aware that there's like a live animal arriving and they can kind of prioritize that. But you're in for a wait. Like this is a long process. For Kuro, we flew with Air Canada. With 11, she will be flying with JAL or Japan Airline. Due to heat restrictions, Air Canada can't fly her. In our case, we had originally tried to book her with Air Canada, and that changed, and we had to submit a modification for the 40-day advance notice, just letting them know that the airline changed. But JAL and I believe I heard Anna are good to fly with during this heat embargo or restriction periods because they're temperature controlled. Speaking again from Kuro, the time we went to get Kuro, they let us know that Kuro was there and they would bring him outside of the little building that we're at, and they had him on a stroller thing. And they were going to walk us to the animal quarantine service, and the airline had all the original documents, and I believe they also had copies made. So they walk you over to the animals quarantine service building. You go in, you give them the original documents, because that's the ones they need. So make sure that the airline gives you the original documents. They'll take your pet to a separate room and scan their microchip. So the microchip has to be working. So when you go to your final vet visit, make sure the microchip is working, like that there's no issues reading it. They will give you a health certificate saying that everything is good. Once that is done, the airline will take your pet back to their warehouse and send you off to a customs building. Remember, this is all still within the cargo. It's just like walking around. So you go to the customs building with all your documents. They'll make you fill out a form and I guess charge you or say how much they think you have to pay in custom fees. I know for Kuro they gave us about $80 Canadian customs fee, but when we went to pay it at the airline, it was like way cheaper. After you get your form from customs, you walk back to the airline building, and then that's where you pay your custom fees. And then they release your pet. Yeah, so that's it. And costs. I mean, if I go through the beginning, the microchip cost for us was, before we planned this, it was really cheap. They were having a special event at the vet, so I think it was like $10 to $15 each for their microchip. Vaccine, probably about $80 per vaccine. Rabies antibody test, $700 each test. 11 had to get 2, so $1,400. I guess getting their flight, so Kuro was about 2,500 Canadian, 11 was about 4,500 Canadian. Each, I guess, vet fees, it depends on your vet. The vet was actually really sweet. I think when they realized we'd all messed up for 11's rabies vaccines, they actually didn't charge me for her second rabies vaccine, second rabies vaccine. They didn't charge me for that. They didn't charge me for the vet consultation and visit. They didn't charge me for any of Kuro's final paperwork. So they only charged me for her FAVN test because they were like, that's a huge cost. Like, you're paying double because of this mistake. But this time, as 11 was getting her final paperwork done, it was about $200 Canadians just for them to fill out her health certificate and that part of the government endorsed health certificate. We got lucky, so Kuro's final vet fees were free. The crate costs, depending whether you can get them cheap or not, maybe $400 total for both Kuro and 11's crate. The government endorsement certificate was $24 each. And that is it. So the next step is to pick up 11, and if anything has changed, I will let you know in the video, but we are very excited. Yeah, that's it. We'll show you some clips later.